Hey folks, Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into it, I just want to remind you the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by the Independent Creator Directory. Yes, IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest, and friends. Friends, there is a 75% off sale coming on right now where you can get your online presence set up, identified, and put in place so that you too can have a page, a site that you don't have to worry about being bumped off every 30 seconds because somehow you've upset some multi-billionaire somewhere in the world. Now, the Historical Fencing Guild is also, of course, brought to you by my amazing patrons at patreon.com/the Historical Fencing Guild. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me buy the gear so you don't have to study, review, and do other great things. You'll get insights, the ability to proofread new books coming out, and have basically almost absolute say on what I'm talking about. Almost, not quite, but dang close. Now, as a reminder, we're also made possible by sales of the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear, my ongoing series of books instructing you in the basic use of assorted martial weapons. Yes, folks, it is a wonderful place to be, and I've got great people making wonders happen. Now, it is spooky season, and I'm going to check my chat right quick to make sure nothing too spicy is going on, and then we're going to get right into it. First through the door is Bladed Thesis. Happy Friday, Sword family. Happy Friday, Thesis. It's always good to see you, as well as his lovely lady Foxy and special guest Ghoul of the Night, our own Kat Rothermel. Good evening. How are you? Well, friends, I am doing quite better since I managed to get the video to actually come up online as it was supposed to. Now, tonight is a special night, as most of you know, because this is the last Friday before Halloween, which means I have to put aside my usual scheduled program about sanity and go into that also delicious topic of how to deal with the supernatural / mythological threats that might come running through the veil to eat your face this year. Yes, folks, it's time for supernatural defense. In previous years, I have done videos on how to deal specifically with vampires, werewolves, and other things that go bump in the night. Earlier this year, I even covered what to do if you happen to be one of those most unfortunate, those poor, unfortunate souls trying to survive as, say, a lycanthropic or undead state amid the wonderful world of hunters. Now, today it's special. Today it is Halloween. How? Well, it's not quite, but it's as close as you guys are going to get on this show. What do you need and how do you defend against the things that go bump? First and foremost, friends, we need to recognize our situation and where it's most likely to go. And Thesis, before we get into that, though, Thesis has his own live stream where he talks about Eastern martial arts, the Tea House. And if you are interested in more Eastern dedicated discussion, please go over there, like and follow him for great content. Much more sane than this. Now, for tonight, friends, we're going to have to postulate a bit. A lot of the preparations you make depend entirely on where you are on Halloween, or whenever you feel threatened by the supernatural forces. One of the big things to understand is if you feel you are threatened by such things, knowing where your local holy or sanctified ground is a great start, because battles are often won by he who best understands the terrain involved. So I like knowing where, say, the local cathedrals, churches, etc. are. Now, I'm going to recommend, in this case especially, knowing where your nearest place of Catholic worship is, because for what you may or may not want to say, for the last 2,000 years, they have been dealing with this sort of thing and are quite adept at it. Further, a large swath of folklore and history says that a great deal of things will be in the topic of not being able to get onto church grounds. So, one great way, it's All Hallows, and you think or know you have a problem. Going to a church is a wonderful place. Not possibly perfect, but it's great for those writers amongst us who want to know what to do. Let's say that's not available. Optimally, as is in most settings, your urban settings are not as good for survival as your more rural settings. The more rural you are, the more left alone you are. Yes, the less support you're going to have from the outside. However, the more interference you'd have in the case of making any preparations and or what you may be carrying on your person to deal with said threats. Remember, just because let's see. Oh, we've got some good comments while we're plotting on that. Oh, not tomorrow. It won't be. I will be drinking blood orange tea and talking about dealing with Jiangshi or Chinese hopping vampires. Those are wonderful beasties to talk about. And that's one good thing. Know your folklore and know what you're most likely dealing with. Because if you're dealing with a Rakshasa or Chinese vampires, you're going to find that they have an entirely different power set than your local lovely run-of-the-mill traditional European vampires, and again, your standard strains. It always gets weirder when you're dealing with vampires that are actually fungal or alien, fungal zombies, alien-possessed vampires. It gets colorful. We stick to the traditions around here. However, there are some things that apply to almost all of them, and understanding this will be key. First and foremost, almost everything can be beaten by severing the head or destroying the brain. Not everything, mind you, but it is a great solution, and you can pull it off even on things that technically, can't be killed by certain weapons. That gets dicey. That they can usually regenerate faster or regenerate at enhanced speeds when presented with certain weapons. However, removing the head and destroying the brain usually at least impedes most things enough to take more final measures. Also, remember, fire is your friend. So, having access to unstable, flammable liquids might not be a bad idea. And at this point, I want to interject that this entire episode, to anyone watching, is being told in as tongue-in-cheek a fashion as possible. Just a little gift for the spooky season. I am not condoning or supporting the actual use of such tactics or the possession of such things where it may or may not interfere with legal situations. This is we'll say, parody. I hope that's enough to protect it. Now, let's see. We've got some comments before we go into it. Jai says, just don't drink the water they have in those places. It burns for some reason. That would not surprise me one bit. And Foxy says you're going to deal with Chinese mythology critters, and that's the plan. Excellent. I will try to share that around. And if you don't get a lot of live stream followers, given that it's going to be a very busy weekend, we'll see if we can't get that shared around, and I'll see if I can't get some eyes on that over the course of next week as a lead up. Try that one on me. I dare you. You won't find any brain. You are a special case, Johnny, and you know it. Congratulations on the new animated movie trailer thing. I'm glad to see that you're getting some of the love you truly deserve. But a lot of it's knowing what repels most things. For example, garlic is notoriously repellent to your basic vampires, and a large number of myths are displeased by it. I have some theories that it has more to do with the rather powerful smell than anything else, but okay. We happen to know that salt repels many spirits traditionally by folklore. Um, this is starting to set up something I think could solve a lot of problems. What we need is our very own spice mix that we're in the habit of carrying around. By adding things like garlic, salt, and at least cayenne pepper, a spiced pepper mix into it, you may have a very potentially useful deterrent in one handy powdered form. Why would I say that? Well, the trick with anything lycanthropic is because silver is bloody expensive. And yes, silver traditionally works. I'm not quite sure. There are a lot of ways to cure and deal with lycanthropes, depending on the folklore you're looking at. But I believe salt supposedly grounds them out. Mm, garlic bread. Yes, garlic bread, once again, is the savior of the day. Have I frozen up again? Oh, no. Okay. Uh, the idea is you want to EDC for monster problems. So that mix right there, garlic, salt, and cayenne, which if you throw some onion powder into it and a little black pepper, makes a delightful dry rub for any barbecued meats, from chicken to pork to even steak. Uh, Having something like that is going to be a multi-use situation, in that that's going to help repel or deal with any number of major supernatural threats, enough to buy you some time to do something smarter, usually escape via automobile. Contrary to many people's assertions, uh, a reasonable speed of vehicle should get you away, assuming the vehicle is properly worded to prevent entry, from most of your threats. Yes, I'm condoning first and foremost, just leave. Secondly, on the vehicle board, make sure that vehicle has enough metal in it to sustain contact with a bipedal figure 3 to 500 pound creature and possibly keep going. This leads to American made trucks of the 80s to early aughts being a nice spread. So you want your vehicle to be maintained. Now, you have your mix. This is good. Another thing to keep in a separate labeled vial that can be very handy are iron filings. Iron filings are going to solve most of your folklore-based threats when dealing with your fae, or actually the full spread of fae basically don't like iron filings, except dwarven types. But to manage to find and tick off your dwarven Tommy knocker kind of thing, it would take a lot of silliness on your part. And if you're going to be that stupid, you do deserve to feel pain. Now let's see. We've got Johnny saying, if only said spirits died from high blood pressure. I'm just going by the research. I didn't even realize it was Friday night. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Blue Teddy. And for the next moment, I'm going to be incredibly cryptic to all my viewers. You will just have to deal with that. That happens. Blue, I read it start to finish. I did reply. You did very little wrong and nothing unexpected for someone of your age and situation. If you wish to discuss that or any more, feel free to reach out to me. You are awesome. Now, I had an idea once for a tabletop game. I was playing planning to carry a load of stale garlic bread for staking vampires. Never got to use it, but it was fun to think about. Now, that's where it gets interesting. The garlic repels vampires, but why? I have a theory. This is just a theory that, and it may be why wolfsbane and several other very odd things repel a number of creatures, simply being that they are potent smell. Now, there are certain things that, like pepper spray, etc., which may be far more effective than many of the entity type, the films want you to realize. Because anything that's got a powerful enough olfactory system to smell and track you down is going to be incredibly sensitive to certain types of irritants. Remember, you may not have to be the main character. You don't need to go full Ash Williams on the Deadites. Okay, in the event of a supernatural or unexplainable incident, much like many Dogman sightings, much like many ghost stories, I do want to encourage you that flight is the best option. Unless you have no other choice, simply DD Mao, get out, get gone, is a uh, great option. Always. I want to condone wherever combat is unexpectedly entered, the tactical cowardice, a tactical advance to the rear, is almost always the right idea. Now, that being said, do you know, dear friends, especially this one is for the ladies in my chat, are you aware of the number one killer of women in supernatural or horror-based settings? You should be. And what is that? What is the bane of the female populace in America, especially? And, Europe and a few other places, but definitely in America. That would be the high-heeled shoe that has the highest incidental kill rate in America. And while Elvira, blessed is the mistress of the dark, put hers to extremely interesting tactical use, I do want to say that it is better to make sure that your shoes are able to allow you to run. A comfortable shoe with a good footbed that fits properly, has ankle support preferably, something you can move in, is always fashionable, as are boots of the butt-kicking variety. Steel toes, if they fit comfortably and don't impede your speed too much, can be your friend. So we'll keep that in mind, because remember, trauma is trauma. Sharp force trauma, blunt force trauma, piercing. Understanding these forces are delightful. So when in doubt, get out. It's what I tell my students, and it's what I tell those who might have a problem. If you open a door and you hear, "Get out," well over 9 times out of 10, the proper response is, "Okay, I will. Have a nice day." Now, you have successfully fled. You are good. Should you relax? Absolutely not. If you're dealing with a major supernatural threat, it might not be a bad idea to go to a place of security. What do I mean? We used to have a wonderful sanctuary if you were not comfortable in dealing with supernatural threats yourself and were not of the type to be vaguely religious. I will still say once again, in my dealings, I found the Catholic Church more than adequate at handling the vast majority of things that go bump in the night. They have people for that who are more skilled and more trained than you. However, if you are in America, there is another institution that I greatly await the day is 24 hours. That being Walmart. Yes, Walmart. Maybe one of your best tactical friends. Because as a paranormal combatant, one who may not have the items necessary, as long as one has a little plastic card that has money on it, or stacks of green paper that can be traded, one may acquire at your local Walmart a whole litany of wonderful items on the fly if you are unprepared for what's coming. And going through the chat, we have let's see, Blue Teddy did say thanks, Nick. I did see that and sent a response before I realized you were streaming. That's fine. If I miss your responses because I had to turn off my phone to keep my net stable. I'm also under a massive windstorm kind of thing popping up, and expect storms to watch over us. It may destabilize my lovely chat, but I like to keep our minds flexible, friends. Now, Johnny says, are you going to be a little coward? Are you going to let a little supernatural threat turn you into a coward? Assert your dominance. I'll be fine. Remember, Johnny is in the Betty White class. Johnny is always rooting for the alligators to eat your friends. And yes, not going to lie, did not see that one coming. No, dear friends, what do I mean? Well, you've made it to Walmart. You have supernatural threats. What can you acquire at Walmart for protection? Now, yes, the downside is with certain laws, one may not simply say, I would like a firearm, here is money, and acquire a firearm and ammunition. It would be much easier if you could, but waiting things happen and background checks, etc., etc. So we're going to bypass the obvious firearm solution with the caveat that if you have a shotgun, usually 12 gauge, and you can acquire a loader and make your own rounds, there are supernaturally friendly, yes, or unfriendly, depending on how you want to look at it, options. Silver shot, wooden slug dum-dum rounds, dragon's fire ammunition. These things are beautiful for this subject. And simple buckshot. No need to overthink it. However, we are operating on the perhaps you don't have those category. You are having to deal with what you have on you. Great. You are at Walmart. You have some benefits. Very few supernatural things like to wander Walmarts because they have their own threshold. There's a lot of electromagnetic fields. It makes things sparky. I can only think of once I've encountered an actual ghost in a Walmart, but it was so fitting, and it was a very specific time of day. That being said, mostly you won't have that. Electromagnetic fields and supernatural entities of the non-corporeal don't usually get along too well. Lots of cameras. Lots of cameras means lots of evidence. It's reasonable to assume that since most people don't panic about supernatural entities, someone or something is out there covering up. That means they watch feeds and, settle things. That's why you don't hear about Walmarts being rampaged by werewolves very often. So, you're moderately safe. Not totally, and you still have to go back out into the parking lot. Not pleasant. Be careful where you park. Up front, well lit, surrounded by people, but in such a way you have access. And very near the cart corral. Because just because you are dealing with supernatural threats gives you no excuse to leave a cart unattended in the parking lot. That is the way of scum. But why Walmart? Well, at Walmart, one can walk in and readily find salt, peppers, hot sauces. All these things are going to be great for our mix of things to dissuade and make unpleasant any entry. Get several canisters of salt because you can't have too much of it and it's relatively cheap. Great, you have salt. Sometimes you can go through the herbs. There are some herbs that have selected. Garlic comes to mind. Again, a whole lot of garlic powder can be your friend. Fresh garlic can be your friend. We're going to go with that. As I said, the olfactory assault is viable, and it doesn't need to be unpleasant. By simply acquiring zip ties and some air freshener, one can make something to make an area very unpleasantly smelling and very distracting, which, if you do that far enough that the scent doesn't carry on to you, can be a great way to clear or modify your trail in the event you have to escape said entities. Now, what else can you find at Walmart? Well, in the book section, they usually have religious books of most of the more prominent genres. You can also get writing implements and Sharpies. Silver Sharpies work great because they paint on a great many things. Get yourself a variety of permanent markers. You never know what you need to do in the case of blessing or upgrading things. This, again, is good. Likewise, very few people realize just the variety and delightfulness of the weaponry one may acquire at a given Walmart. Obviously, they sell inexpensive to moderately expensive machetes, large axes, hand axes and large axes, depending on the Walmart where you're at. And I will pause to say, yes, you guys are rooting for the puppies, being the alligators. I have no problem with alligators, provided they stay where they're supposed to be. And yes, that is exactly my point. Some perfumes wonk out lycanthropes because their nose is burningly strong. Indeed, this is the kind of logic we're going to use to deal with these. Likewise, one may usually at a decent Walmart, a hardware store or a Menards might be better for something like this, but we'll keep it. Threaded wooden handles for replacements for brooms can make staggeringly handy staves for defense. In the sales aisle bays, in the yard sale bays, they usually have literal wooden stakes available in multiple lengths for your pleasure. They also have mallets for those of you who do have to deal with vampires who are less pleasant than our dear Johnny. The garden center is a veritable cornucopia of useful items. Between that, you can get string and rope for tying things off, chain, super glue, 1,002 wonderful uses. Because there's nothing that says you can't put some assorted adhesives down to impede things. I have found that, when dealing with supernatural entities that are repelled by certain symbologies, why not adhere said symbol to them? Let's see. Some work as mace, can confirm. Oh, absolutely. And they're often in breakable vessels. Now, there are also the assorted cleaning aisle elements. These are wonderful for dealing with and preventing both unpleasant mildew from growing in your bathroom and any number of entities from kind. Bleach is most unpleasant. Be careful not to mix your bleach with other chemicals, however, as it can have unforeseen side effects, which I will not, for YouTube standards, list here. However, please be very careful. Likewise, and totally unrelated, in the camping goods display, you can find lighting, which is handy to have. You can find an assortment of hand axes, knives, other such goodies, flares. I'm sure we can keep assorted means to keep the lights on if the power goes out, because a great many supernatural entities clash with electronic devices. How did I get a notification on my phone when my phone is on airplane mode and muted? That's interesting. One moment. Very well, we'll ignore that. Well, almost ignore that. That's how it's happening. Now, why am I even bothering talking about this sort of thing? Well, we'll get into that. I want to finish up. The other thing you can get is long extension cords. For your non-corporeal entities, remember that they do not like crossing of running water. Why is that? Well, one theory dictates that there is a a static energy field that follows water as it goes, and that disrupts certain things. Using that theory, one may MacGyver a reasonable circle of protection simply by plugging in a long cord into the wall, looping it around one's bed, plugging it into a lamp, and turning the lamp on. As long as you're inside, you are in a field of electromagnetic radiation, which should theoretically interfere with the electromagnetic fields of most of your low-level spooks. This should provide you a comfortable night's sleep if salt and such isn't available. And remember, such techniques can be layered. Now, we're going to go into all right, you've acquired some things. Maybe you've gotten enough to get yourself home. Of course, you're going to stop and upgrade your clothing. See, you want to make sure you want to have rash guard. You want denim jacket, denim pants, minimum, leather. Again, if you could get to a hardware store or a farm store, even better. Armor is always your friend. Sturdy gloves. We want to prevent biting. In the sports section, you may find certain, if you are able to use them, certain personal protection, cups and the like, as well as football pads, things like that. You may find these given the style of Walmart you have available. Let's see. Does the notification give you 7 days? Johnny, I am not worried about a wet Japanese girl ghost crawling through my TV. Why do you think I keep a fountain next to the bed? Excellent point, and I'm really going to apologize, Johnny, right now and earn the vampiric war crimes division on me again. No. You see, the deal is we take too long doing our hair. Water would ruin the aesthetic. Chases Johnny with hair clippers. Anyway, no. See, in that method, you keep a large quantity of holy water. You place it in a humidifier, and then you turn it on, effectively making it a gas chamber for vampires. Now we're going to talk into your basic preferable melee weapons whilst dealing with the supernatural. We'll go sidearms out. Obviously, you want a good working knife, and all your weapons need to be accessible. I'm a big fan of your old-fashioned machete. A good machete can solve a lot of problems very quickly, as can any number of bludgeoning items. Axes, sledgehammers, things like this. But if you're going to be in this field at any point, there are reach weapons that are of benefit. Of course, I'm talking my dear and beloved boar spear. A boar spear is a wonderful deterrent. This is great for small levels of zombies if you could do it as a team, where one or more have boar spears, someone else with something like a saber, a machete, yes, a katana. I'm sure they'll make Johnny happy. Johnny says, that's how you would make an enemy for life, not the hair. Oh, it all resets on the dawn anyway. But the means to deal with your basic lycanthropes. Melee weapons can be acquired. Also in the hunting section, you can usually find bows and crossbows surprisingly cheap. And while field tips aren't, the best thing to use, one can also get broadheads and other, frankly, nightmarish arrowheads to facilitate minor range dealing with threats. And you can always modify what you need at home for what you're dealing with, or in your car if you keep a handy toolkit. Keeping a battery-powered Dremel kit of some sort. Another great thing, because then you can put an edge on other things that might not have edges, such as a rebar or other cold steel, or perhaps having the foresight to get a good stock tool bag so that you can make and modify things on the go is good. Remember that aluminum's not perfect, but assorted signage makes great improvised armor and shields as needed, again, depending on the threat you're dealing with. So you've geared up. Yeah! And you have decided, instead of just hanging out at a church for a few days till this all blows over, you're going to go home. This is okay. One should follow the rules. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you have established threshold. This is your house. No one has the right to come in there without your invitation. This will help many of your more classic and well-behaved creatures. If it is your house, there's nothing stopping you from doing things like putting solar-powered light-up crosses strategically around at least your porch, if not around the yard, planting wolfsbane and other select repellent things. See the aforementioned garlic. Making sure that all your doors, windows, and other entry holes, such as the dryer vent. Yes, remember the dryer vent when you are warding your home, because if you're going to ward all the entrances and exits, you need to ward all the entrances and exits. It is time-consuming. However, once that is done, anyone going in stays in. You have more than enough food, water, firefighting, and heavy-grade medical gear. Not a bandage boo-boo kit. It used to be much harder, but they now have made it OSHA required that med kits for chainsaw use are appropriate for chainsaw accident damage. Therefore, you can easily acquire pre-made ones. Making sure you have lots of stop clot and things are wonderful. And yes, yep. And see, knowing Bagwell mirror above the door and several guardian statues pointed at our apartment, putting specific stones in windows and doors. Know your literature. This is good. This is fun. Gargoyles can be handy, especially in numbers. Anyway, so you've done that. You've put salt across all your doors. According to some systems, brick dust is quite handy. I like what are called neutral defenses. You don't have to believe in them. They just work in most systems. And Johnny once again says, walls for the wind and a roof for the rain should be more than enough. Now, a great gargoyle army, and always looking for more. I love my gargoyles. But, yes, remember, if Johnny gives you advice about supernatural defense, he's making sure you're easy as a meal. That being said, because every year I do something like this, let's talk lighting. Outside, you want lots of lighting, preferably. I have one dream catcher, and it caught Shia LaBeouf. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. So I guess it works. Anyway, yeah, dream catchers can be quite handy if that system works. If not, they're at least delightful. One thing, if you have any crystal balls, crystal anythings, do be sure they're not exposed to direct light. And if possible, cover them at all times when you're not using them. Not for any supernatural defense, but the fact that sunlight can be refracted into them into a heat ray, and it will burn your house down. That's another useful thing. Also, if you apply your house for public patrimony, so it doesn't have an owner, that would be great. See, John, the grain of salt with which Johnny should be watched for. Now, because of course it is All Hallows Eve prep. What else do we want to know? Well, lighting. Getting back to that, lots of lighting, solar, mechanical, tiki torches outside. Optimally, your outside area is brighter than your inside area. This will give you three very distinct security bonuses. If it is brighter outside than inside, it is harder for your trespassers, be they human or supernatural, to see inside. If areas of brightness tend to repel a large number of things that go bump. You have to realize that many of these things, your basic hauntings, your things work much like flora and fauna. You have to make sure your environment is simply uncomfortable for them. Chill, happy music that isn't creepy. Warm, family feeling things that are hard to corrupt. Your baked cookie smells. Happy music, warm, soft lighting. You make it comfortable for you. It is not comfortable for them. Now, oh yes. Fine, keep your house. May I come in? That's the thing. As soon as you are under supernatural threat, no one new gets in. Yes, lack of clutter is a good defensive well, because many things are empowered by vermin. I am working on my clutter problem. That is one of my big problems. It also can make you less attached to an area and weaken your threshold. Cleaning your house and high reach will actually help add to your threshold. Maintaining your house adds to your threshold. It strengthens that this is your home. And unfortunately, Johnny, legality and illegality gets very weird on the subjects of homes, because normally cars are not considered someone's home, but RVs do have threshold because people consider they are living in them for their weeks. And when you live in a car long enough, you can gain threshold on that vehicle, as I have found out during my college years. Not that I was away from, not allowed to live with my parents, but because I spent so much time on campus, slept, and basically hung out in my car. Unless you know, Johnny, no, you may not. Add clutter, add depression, which makes things want to hang around. Absolutely. But if I have that original piece of paper with the drawing I made of you, don't you want it? I'm sure it would be helpful if I could frame it and hang it for you. Oh, kids who like it for Johnny, I think we'll be fine. Oh, Johnny, you were a delight. And don't worry, you wouldn't want to come into my house too unpleasant. Because if you do, you'd be under the rules of hospitality. Think of that joke and vampire, that joke about the elf and the vampire having lunch together, with the duel of who can trap the other under the laws of hospitality. It gets interesting real fast. Foxy, that's no way to treat a friend. Why do you think I have outside meeting areas? Exactly. But in the event you think something kinky is going on, you are no longer sociable. That's fine. If your relatives suddenly show up, also, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not who you think it is. Many a defense has been ruined by somebody opening the door. If I have to lock down to do a supernatural, I don't care who's outside. They could claim to be my mother. They could claim to be, someone I love dearly. If I'm locked down, I am locked down. I will conveniently suggest they go to a secondary place I have prepared for that contingency that is fairly defendable but separate until such time as things like dawn pass and etc. But friends. All that light will repel most monsters, threats, and cryptids. It will make burglars uncomfortable. It will make a lot of mundane threats uncomfortable. It may attract Mothman, but because your house is dimmer than your inside, it'll just sit and stare at whatever the brightest light you have is. Lamp. Until it becomes time for him to flutter off, and then I just avoid large bridges for a while and places where a historic, if you look around, there's a lot of people suddenly there you don't want to be. So you have means. Now, friends, all jests aside for a moment, why am I talking about this? Is it that I'm giving actual practical advice against the supernatural threats that lurk on the other side of the veil? No. Always promote. No, I talk about these because it encourages mental flexibility. When I said, if you don't know what to do and things are going bump, go to Walmart. A whole lot of people went, derp, what? But think about it. You could buy usually cross decor. You could get all the tools I've mentioned. You could get the food. You could get a supermarket / a megalomart, since Walmart, Meijer, Target has a whole swath of incredibly useful things. Menards probably is a bit more useful on a lot of them, but you go where you can. I want to encourage mental flexibility, because when you're mentally flexible, you solve problems. Isn't that right, Lydia? Yes, that's right. And solving problems makes for better fighters. It makes for more tactically alert people. Supplies are wonderful except, I bet. Look in the closet. Supplies! Anyway, if that is your case, which is fine, you want to practice, you want to train. Plus, it gives you something. What are you doing? I'm sword fighting. Why? I may have to deal with monsters. It's a whole thing. And back when I was dealing with SCA heavy fighters, the overlap was not unnoticed. I actually have a novel from the good old days I need to completely re-edit to publish, change a whole lot of names, and tweak a few things now that I'm a better writer. And I just realized my victory dance is melting in my pocket somewhat, so that needs to cool off. 0 bar, half a 0 bar actually. Yay. But this is why I look at this stuff. Because a lot of people go, I want to learn to sword fight, but I can't afford swords. I want to learn to do something, but I can't afford ... Well, friends, I want to tell you that is a terrible excuse. Because if you know me and you've spoken online, in the immortal words of James Dalton, be nice until it's time not to be nice. Yes, and ask me when it is. But, yes, always start nice. That's one thing. Even if you have to deal with the vampire, there's no reason to be rude. When Johnny wants to come in, I'm sorry, I can't allow you to come in, as I would like you not to eat my face. And or drain my blood, or, in other ways, end my existence. That, and given my home, it would not necessarily be the safest place for you. So it's for your benefit as well as mine that threshold remains uncrossed. This is what keeps, the undead from lurking too. No, they're lurking. They're not coming through. I will tell you that I did, for a long time, paranormal consultations where people would have problems, and I would do my best to rectify them. I was not going there like so many ghost hunters with the idea of I want to catch, I'm going to rile it up and then catch evidence. No. I went in to solve the problems, which vast majority of time, a rudimentary understanding of things like boilers, plumbing, lumber, the area around a location can oh my gosh, hold on, I have to stop this. Can contribute to the plausible. The chat just got beautiful for a moment. Supplies. Jai says excuses, but I thought Johnny was a nice vampire. That's what he wants us to think. Cupcake, I wasn't even a nice human. Besides, I'm sure humans taste better than other supernaturals. I have not ingested anyone, so I cannot speak to that, fortunately. Mental flexibility, guys. A lot of it's knowing your environment. But when I was doing that, the vast majority of times, I could debunk it. When I couldn't debunk it, it got a little more interesting. But I still, vast majority of those times, was able to find the source and deal with it somehow through a little bit of rudimentary deduction. Let's say things are going nuts. Your house is going bump. You've seen somebody walking in the hallway. I usually ask things like, okay, what changed? And very often there's an object that something's tied to. Then what are you going to say? I would suggest removing and possibly destroying with fire said object. Actually dealt with quite a few of those. Cursed knives, chest of drawers that wasn't quite right. Had to put down the preserved ghost of somebody who attempted suicide in front of a mirror, and it kind of burnt into the mirror. Whole things. Most of the time, you can deal with that sort of thing through logic and deduction. My favorite case of all time that I did for the point of this discussion is there's a small town in Indiana. No, I will not tell you where it is, because if I tell you where it is, some idiot, and I'm not saying you, but someone who would hear this, might run amok with the intent of finding out. And that would be a subset of the F around and find out. Ooh. Let's see. I see an interesting commentary. Sorry. Anyway, that I'm sure humans taste better than other supernaturals. Actually, that depends on the human. Some of them taste rather unpleasant. One with not much alcohol in it, please. See, maybe that's why Johnny likes you. Finding a sober man in this day and age is rather weird. How about an unholy holy man? Do the world a service. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking how one deals with an unholy holy man. And ironically, yes, feeding them to Johnny or an equivalent. To borrow from Constantine, one of my favorite films, looks like someone doesn't have your back anymore. And let's see. Alcohol and drug use are definite no-nos for potential meals. That makes sense. Those are too noisy, and fair point. Okay. I was going to say, usually an unholy holy man has violated several oaths. That means karma is coming for them in a big way. And I will say, never face them alone. Beware charismatics alone. Practitioners. Don't let people get a hold of your hair, too easily. And in this day and age, I suppose the acquisition of someone's blood samples would not be that hard compared to older days, because there's so many medical moments of grabbing. But it's something to think about. Still, there is no reason to be rude. Not all quarry becomes food. That is a terrifying sentence, Johnny. I suppose there is the premise of removing a threat, not to eat, but simply remove a threat. There's also, in the case of your average vampire, conversion, which has been something I've had to deal with in the past. Nick, do you have any idea how much hair I have? How on earth? Well, being that you are, in fact, a humanoid blue teddy bear, as that is all I know of your appearance, I can see that being difficult. It's one of those where one does one's best. And yes, it can be difficult. While my hair is on a growing out arc, and between you, dear friends, and a few others, that depends on how good they are at what they do, Foxy. The problem is, usually the individual shed hairs are, it's easier to miscount. Make sure not to tie it. It looks good with red liquid. Oh, my contract precludes. See? My contract is delightful on that subject in that it rendered some problems I have. Did I say that out loud? Anyhow. And now my brain is trying desperately to draw up Vampire Blue Teddy because it is that season. But no, I used to have at one point in college, and I had to trim it before I was married, but I might be able to find pictures from my Patreon folks. My hair went down to but somewhere between the middle of my shoulder blades and about the middle of my shoulder blades. Long curly auburn hair. Back when I had the bright red beard, I have since ran out of natural toner, except for the sides. I went white at 15 after an incident, and I've earned the Mr. Fantastic, etc. Silly Johnny, teddies are for kids. No, but I wanted to have fun tonight, and I sure hope you guys have. Now, I will probably do, weather permitting and my body permitting, a video highlighting trainers of this and going back over some things I've covered, if that's something interested. Besides, yes, very, very silly, Johnny. Besides, I'm a teddy. All I've got is floof. Well, if it helps, I've got a lot of floof, too. But, reasonable levels of joking aside, guys, I do hope that your Halloween, Samhain, about 5 different pronunciations, anything but Samhain, goes very well. I hope you have fun. I hope you get to eat things that you don't normally eat. And if the veil does get thin and you see any spirits, I do hope they're pleasant relatives, just not and friends, coming by for a chat. Yeah, that nothing of it's too aggressive. Like a certain Disney villain, I do have some friends on the other side, and they know the etiquette. There is etiquette, but teddy bears have claws too. And if not, that teddy's had access to great amounts of education in defense. So, Sam hates my uncle's teeth. I'm so glad we were able to keep this night's video on topic. I do have a point next week. I will probably be unable to broadcast this program. I wanted to wait till the end to give this notice. I will be at a convention in Peatone, Illinois, And I will be setting up for said convention. So it's very likely that there will not be a Historical Fencing Guild live stream for that week. When the event runner comes up and goes, please come vend at our show. It's a 2-day show. We like what you're about. I had no choice. I have to take it. So that's been in the books since Region Con. It will interfere with some things, but I will make it up to you guys. I always do. I do hope, seriously, put on some spooky movies, lock the doors, bolt the windows. That's all I can think of when someone pronounces it like that. Who is Sam Hainen? Why are you throwing him a party? Have fun. I try. But thank you, and I do appreciate your understanding. Basically, if I can get my books in more people's hands, I can teach them to sword fight. You guys understand the benefits. And if not, well then, I'll teach them to play games, or I'll do some art, have some adventures, and it's good for me to once in a while do that sort of thing as a reset. It's also, I wouldn't make it anyway, likely, because that is the thing of my, very near to my my wife and I's 21st, yes, 21st wedding anniversary. Spooky movies, may I suggest Demon Knight or Bordello of Blood? I would love to watch that, gaze, but I will be watching my spooky movies with Xander for the most part. I may snake a couple of those into my evening slots, although we got to start while he was taking a shower yesterday, one of my favorites, Sleepy Hollow. And we have a few that we have to watch, including the classic Halloween. But we can watch the Universal Classic Monsters with him and a few others. We can make things work. That leaves it pretty open. Yes, it does. And Johnny, you are one of my favorite undead. And I respect you, man. I do. So I do hope you are not steak and baked this Halloween season as people get stupid and all the amateurs come out to play on both sides. Remember, any holiday that brings out amateurs, it's best to avoid large gatherings where alcohol is at any time, but especially around New Year's Eve and things. Don't be stupid. If you want to scare, go to an actual, haunted house. A lot of the firefighters throw them. The money goes to good causes. In fact, if you're in Northwest Indiana, tonight, I believe, tomorrow, and Sunday, the 27th, I'm sorry, the 28th, 29th, the 30th? Or is it? Anyway, I have to look it up, and it's not on this list of branding. And you can make it to the east to New Chicago's Twin Oaks Park at 6:30 on is Dark of the Park 2, where $3 or a clean set of clean new socks will get you in, and there's food, there's spookiness. It's a good time, and the socks go to the Socktober Drive for National Honor Society to then go to homeless people, and then the money goes to the same sets of charities. It's a good thing. Joe Bachman's running it. Well, Joe and Trey, you know them, great people. Other than that, guys, thank you for coming out. I will be back on my usual stuff come next week. So until then, guys, you know what? Thanks for letting me have a little fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back Monday for Nevermind the Furthermore on the Nicholas Tockert channel at 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, and whatever it is to you guys. Please be sure to hop and subscribe over there. I believe Monday will be the closest to Halloween, and I intend to keep that very Halloween themed, just a little different. There may be an appearance of someone else I know along. With the rest of it, guys, keep writing, keep drawing. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong outro. Sorry, my wires crossed for a moment. Guys, keep your guard up, do your drills, be kind to yourself and each other, and as always, support your local swordmaster. I will see you all real soon, Toodles. I'm tired and I need to eat. Bye.